Well, hello and welcome back, and a massive thank you for coming back. Here we are on the island of love. I'm sitting on a hillside. This is Tala, one of my favourite places. I've got a spectacality of view straight over the rooftops, the treetops, down to the blue Mediterranean Sea. Stick with us, and at the end of the video you're going to get to see that view. Today's topic: buying a car in Cyprus and what I believe are the best type of cars to buy in Cyprus. So if you are thinking about coming to relocate to Cyprus, perhaps you're buying a property, or perhaps you're renting a property, perhaps you're only coming for 2 or 3 months in a year, or perhaps you're going to come here every single day or every single year for the rest of your life, but you're going to need a car. Whether you rent it, perhaps in the shorter term, it could be wise to rent a car. Long term, perhaps for a month, 2 months, 3 months, while you decide and determine what kind of car that you want. But like with most places in the world, the roads, what can we say? Most of our governments around the world are not spending our money very wisely, and we do have the odd pothole or two. Also, on top of that, Cyprus, we tend to have a lot of dirt tracks up to perhaps that friend's villa, up to that restaurant in the hills and in the mountains. So I would suggest that most people should buy some kind of what we call jacked up little Jeep style 4-wheel drive. Perhaps it doesn't need to have 4-wheel drive, but it needs to be that little bit raised, shall we say, to allow to circumnavigate that pothole, that curb, that supermarket car park, those kind of things. I think you know what I'm talking about. Very popular cars around the world today, and some things to bear in mind in Cyprus. Now, Cyprus is a small island. Why am I referencing that? Well, if you're going to buy something like a car, it's a big amount of money to spend on an item, by the way, isn't it? You need to try and ensure that there is backup of supply of parts. Yes, this is what I'm getting to. If you live in mainland Europe, shipping, the channels are very smooth. If you're ordering parts, they can come from Germany, from Italy, from France, from America, and often they can be there before you even get the kettle on. But in Cyprus it's a little bit slower. The shipping network, shall we say, only comes into Greece first and then comes over to Cyprus. So certain models of car will have a slower delivery of parts. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. So if you're smart, you will buy a car that is very popular in Cyprus. We understand a lot of us want exclusivity, but perhaps not so wise in Cyprus. You should stick with the mainstay, the most popular brands. And some of the most popular brands for cars in Cyprus are Toyota, Honda, Mazda, Hyundai, Kia. On the premium side, we've got Mercedes and BMW. So those are the main brands you should be looking at if you are thinking about buying a car. There's Ford in there, there's Fiat in there, and there's other brands as well. But when it comes to parts supply, the top of the trees are definitely Toyota, BMW, and Mercedes. And this is why when you are driving around in Cyprus, you will see an awful lot of these cars. So let's get to probably the most practical cars to buy if you are in Cyprus. What I refer to as jacked up little Jeep style 4-wheel drive vehicles, not necessarily with 4-wheel drive. In fact, a lot of these cars today you can't even buy with 4-wheel drive. Let's take, on the smaller side, something like a Toyota Yaris Cross, a fabulous car. And many people have had the opportunity to perhaps hire them or own them. And if you have, you know that this is a tremendous car. Not the biggest car in the world. It's approximately 4 meters long. Now, I understand that doesn't mean a lot to most people. But what it means is it will carry 4 people in comfort and a couple of suitcases in the back. Now, why do I reference suitcases? Because, of course, if you are going to live in Cyprus, the odds are that you'll have the odd visitor or two. So you have to remember that you'll be going to an airport now and again to pick up that family member or those friends that decide to get on a big bird and pop over and see you on the island of love, which of course is Cyprus. So, Toyota Yaris Cross, a fabulous, fabulous car. How much is one of those going to cost you? That's the question, isn't it? Well, on a running cost, it's very, very cheap indeed. 1.5 three-cylinder hybrid engine, so it's half electric, half petrol, but don't worry, I'm going to plug it in. The petrol engine does the charging of the hybrid system. Does around about 5 to 5.5 litres per 100 kilometres. That's in European money. In English money, that's around about 55 to 60 miles to the gallon, and that's a lot. So quite economical to run. On a road tax point of view, less than 50 euros for a whole year. Yeah, and being a Toyota, it's very reliable. So I talked about part supply, and there is a part supply for the majority of Toyotas, the mainstream Toyotas. But of course, if you do own a Toyota, not often do you need parts because, well, they are pretty much the most reliable brand of car in the world. Yes, so something to bear in mind. Perhaps if you've never owned a Toyota, start to research them because these are some of the top brands: Toyota, Honda, Mazda and Nissan. Yeah. On the posh side, if you want a premium brand, BMW and Mercedes, and of course the sister brand of Toyota, Lexus. Yes, there's a top brand for you as well. All of the brands I'm talking about have got good parts supply in Cyprus, and this is what's important because now and again, even a Toyota or a Lexus does break down. So remember that, otherwise you can have your car parked up for weeks and weeks on end while the workshop waits for that specific part to arrive. So back to the Yaris Cross. Almost 4 metres or just over 4 metres long, carry 4 people, jacked up that little bit, decent boot, easy to drive, easy to park, automatic transmission obviously. Could be the perfect car for Cyprus, by the way. And if you come to Cyprus on your holidays and start to open your eyes at the cars that are driving around, you're going to notice something, that the Yaris Cross is probably the most popular small crossover on the roads today. Closely followed by probably the Mazda CX-3. These are the smaller size little jacked up cars. You've then got the Honda Jazz, and it's called the Crosstrek in Cyprus. That slightly jacked up little hatchback. So those are the 3, should we say, Japanese, very reliable cars that could suit your purpose as that perfect car for driving around Cyprus. When we go into the next segment, we come up with the Corolla Cross, and there are a lot of competitors to that as well. BMW X1, we've got the Mazda CX-30, the list goes on and on. But again, you should stick to the very popular brands that are in Cyprus because, as I keep saying, now and again, even the most reliable cars in the world do break down and you will need parts. So stick to the mainstream volume sellers in Cyprus and you won't go far wrong. And of course, you won't break down that often either, but you'll find the efficiency and the cost of those parts is quite competitive. You know, if you're going to go and buy something like a Jaguar, well, unfortunately, Jaguar are not really on this planet anymore, but the parts supply is very, very limited indeed. And as we start to progress up the tree and we go to things like Bentleys and Rolls-Royce, now I understand many people have got a lot of money. And if you do happen to be buying a Bentley or a Rolls-Royce, the odds are you've got another car. So it's not going to bother you that much, but you will be waiting a long, long time for those parts to be shipped in if something was to go wrong. So the mid-segment, probably the sweet spot, by the way. We've mentioned the Yaris Cross, a great, great runaround car. But now and again, you do find yourself perhaps going to play golf or perhaps picking up people from an airport over and over and over, going out for dinner on an eve. And then sometimes you might find something like the Yaris Cross a little bit tight in the back. So we move up to the likes of the Toyota Corolla cross. Around about 4.3 meters long. Again, I know that doesn't mean a lot, but it gives you that little bit more room in the back and that little bit more room in the boot capacity. When we go to the Honda version, we have what we call the HRV and the Japanese import to Cyprus, which is the Vezel. So Honda HRV, Honda Vezel. Again, hugely popular car and very, very reliable and very, very practical indeed. Mazda CX-30, again, a very popular, very reliable, probably not quite as practical in the back as the Toyota Corolla Cross or the Honda HRV, but still a hugely practical car and a fabulous car if you are a couple and you are living in Cyprus and perhaps some family are coming out, friends are coming out now and again. We then move to the full-size section, as we'll call it in Cyprus. So that is the Toyota RAV4, the Honda CR-V, and of course the Mazda CX-5. If you want to go a bit posh, you've got the BMW X3, and of course you've got the Mercedes GLC. Hugely, hugely popular cars, because these cars, this size of car now, is pretty much able to do anything. If you want to go to IKEA, yes, we do have IKEA on the island of Love in Cyprus, all the way in Nicosia, and a branch in Limassol as well. So you can whiz down from Paphos, pop those seats down and flat pack it to death, and then come back to Paphos and make your abode that little bit better, shall we say. So, Toyota RAV4, Honda CR-V, Mazda CX-5. There's also the Hyundai Tuscan and of course the Kia Sportage. Very, very practical cars, and most people that are watching this little episode will have heard of these cars, and perhaps you even own one. I believe that these are the greatest cars in the world, certainly for the world of Cyprus. They are way, way big enough, but not too big. And they'll carry anything in the back, including those family friends and of course those friends that you're taking out for dinner. Most of them have the facility to have four-wheel drive. Now, I always say in Cyprus you don't really need that facility to have four-wheel drive, but if you are buying one, perhaps it would be wise to have the four-wheel drive version for that little adventure when you do go slightly off-road, perhaps out into the Acamas, perhaps up to the Troodos Mountains. So of course the Toyota RAV4 can be purchased with four-wheel drive. The Mazda CX-5 again can be purchased with four-wheel drive, along with the Honda CR-V, the BMW X3 and of course the Mercedes GLC. So the perfect cars for Cyprus, and more than big enough for anyone's requirements and needs while they're residing in Cyprus. Now, if you want my opinion of what I believe of all of those cars is the best car, I truly believe that it is the Toyota RAV4. And maybe I'm wrong, but the figures suggest that I am not. It is the most successful and the largest selling medium-sized SUV in the world. It is indeed. So, if you are coming to Cyprus and you are thinking about buying a car, start to do your research now and look at the Japanese brands, the Korean brands, and if you want something a bit posher, you look at the German brands, obviously. Now, BMW and Mercedes have got a great parts supply in Cyprus, so don't worry about it if you buy one of them. And the same applies to Audi, by the way. The German top brands always, wherever they are in the world, make sure that there is a good parts supply. But, of course, you are going to pay premium prices when you want to buy those parts. Whereas with the Japanese and the Koreans, they are, should we say, a little bit more affordable. They think a lot about their customers, and on top of that, if you're buying it brand new, these are the guys that give it the longest warranty. Yes, indeed. And I go back to Toyota, my favourite brand. If you buy a brand new Toyota in Cyprus, you actually get a 10-year warranty. And if you play it correctly, by the way, it can actually go to 11 years. Yes, you heard me correctly. So I'm going to say a massive thank you for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed this little episode, and hopefully if you are looking to buy a car, a new one or a second-hand one, when you come to Cyprus, you'll get in contact with myself and allow me to take you by the hand and guide you, take you perhaps around a few dealerships and show you some second-hand cars, negotiate on your behalf on a brand new car. These are some of the facilities that the little channel known as Marika and Me offers you guys. You can be taken around various dealerships looking at cars perhaps that you've already selected via the internet, and allow myself and of course Marika to negotiate on your behalf. It's as simple as that. If you like what you see, please hit that thumbs up, smash that like, please subscribe to the channel, and please don't forget to keep on coming back for that little bit more of my complete and utter madness as I take you on my travels and sit here and chat to you about life in Cyprus. Hopefully we'll see you very, very soon indeed. I'm going to leave you with that view. It's a spectacality of a view indeed. Here you go. Look at that. Through the trees, over the rooftops, in the distance yonder is that blue Mediterranean Sea. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you again very, very soon indeed.